Yes, welcome. Hello, this is the January 13, 2020 meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners. My name is Tom Coward. I'm the chairman of the Commissioners for this year. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I would like to invite anyone who wishes to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. First is approval of the minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the December 9 meeting. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's passed unanimously. And we have informational reports and presentations. I actually have I have a presentation I would like to make. Nobody knows who it's for, I'm sure. For Jim Cloutier. He could add this, put this on the shelf in his game room with all the other
Gonna build a game room now. Is that,
gavels and plaques and everything else that I know he's got down there. It says, the inscription on it is James F. Cloutier, Chairman 2019, strong leadership and guidance. I second that. It was a pleasure sitting down at the end of the table and watching you take care of county business in a unique and entertaining style, and get a lot of business done with the least fuss and for the benefit of the public. So thank you very much.
thank you. I was glad to do it, and I'm glad to be done.
All right, good. That was a lot shorter than my speech last week, so. Oh, and here, you need the box, too.
Thank you.
Okay, oh, and the inside cover. And what's actually on the agenda is welcome to the new chairman, so hello. I'm not going to make a speech. I'm happy to be here to kind of chair the meeting and try to keep us on the straight and narrow and stick to time and so forth. But this is, I think, my second round in the chair since I've been on the board. So I hope to do better than I did the last time, which is what I say to myself every morning. So next is comments from the public. Any members of the public wishing to come and talk to us about anything on or off the agenda? Read us your grandmother's chocolate chip cookie recipe or whatever, please step forward. Seeing none, public comments are closed. Next is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve consent agenda items 20-001, 002, 003, 004, 005, and 006.
Second.
Okay, do we, for a while we had the clerk read the titles. Could we do that just again for the record, just so that the people watching us later on will know what we are talking about? Thank you very much, Barbara.
Item 20-001, renewal of the mutual corporation agreement with Cumberland County Home Consortium. 20-002, award a 3-year contract to Consolidated Communications for phone system upgrade at courthouse to VoIP. 20-003, establishment of a vehicle reserve account. 20-004, award the bid for a 10G wave service and internet agreement to Consolidated Communications. 20-005, appointment of Diane Smith Howard to the Mid-Coast Maine Community Action Board of Directors representing County Commissioner District Number 3. And 20-006, the reappointment of the Board of Assessment Review Committee members.
Thank you, Barbara. Having heard those, does anyone have anything they want to pull off for further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of moving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is passed unanimously. All right, next, action items. First is approval of acquisition of surplus property policy. Jim, I think that's your item.
Yes. During the budget process this past fall, there were a few conversations around protocols that we currently have in place on acquisition of surplus property, whether that surplus property is from the local, state, or federal levels. We did not have anything in place in our admin regs around the surplus property. And I reported that out in December to the commissioners at the time that the commissioners were acting on the final budget. And at that time, you asked me to go back and look at developing some kind of policy around the acquisition and making sure that we had some eyes on what was being proposed for acquiring and whether there was any protocols in terms of what would need department head approval, county manager approval, and ultimately commissioner approval. One of the biggest things is that the commissioners felt as though some eyes need to be put on the equipment that's being acquired, in particular around life cycle costs, and not getting ourselves into acquiring something for free, but having a significant dollar amount being put into this acquired piece of equipment. And so, in your packets on last week when you received kind of my first stab at putting the policy together. I have received comments from some of the commissioners since the packet went out, and tonight I pass out in front of you the more revised and taking some of those comments and putting them on paper. And so I'll just take a second to read the proposed language for action this evening. This would be an amendment to the Administrative Regulations Number 7, surplus material and sale of county property. And it would be the acquisition of surplus property. The acquisition of new equipment falls under the county's annual bonding, non-debt capital, and operational maintenance planning budgets. Periodically, county departments may locate pieces of equipment that might serve their needs through local, state, and federal surplus equipment lists. The decisions to produce or procure such equipment may be appropriate when it fulfills, 1, a required function, and 2, a total life cycle cost savings. The investigation of both is required for the initial review and decision prior to the acquisition. Acquisition of surplus equipment will be based on the asset's life cycle cost and shall abide by the following guidelines. Number 1, an estimated value of $20,000 or less, department head authorization. Number 2, an estimated value between $20,001 and $100,000, county manager authorization. And number 3, any estimated value over $100,000 shall seek recommendation of the county manager and the authorization of the county commissioners. That is slightly different in wording and levels of 1, 2, and 3 as what I sent out to department heads for their review and comment about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But it is something that there is a need for some kind of level. And what I read for proposed language for consideration tonight is a little higher and less restrictive than what was sent out to the department heads. But in any event, I see this as a policy that could have some dialogue this evening. I think there are a couple of moving parts there, especially on the money threshold of the acquired product. And if the commissioners wanted to spend a little time in firming up numbers or desired language, I think that would be appropriate for this evening. So I will end my comments there. Thank you.
Comments, yes.
Question. Can you tell me as to why there's a difference from what we were sent out in with the new one, did we rethink it, or how did that come about?
It was two things. One, I received comments from some commissioners on the levels, and two, I did some rethinking.
Oh, okay. I think, I would like to see it maybe is on item, number 2, be less within 100,000. I don't know what the thinking was, how we're behind the 20,000 to 100,000. I just think with that, we open up ourselves, for a lot more if we would keep it at those ranges versus with the ranges that you had talked about and with the prior, was email, so. But I'm willing to listen as to why. I should have known to be you, Stephen.
Steve. Yeah. If you look at I see a major difference between the two. And one, the one that we're contemplating requires life cycle costs. And life cycle costs, when you start using those total amounts, those tend to drive project costs 2 or 3 times what you would normally think. So, whereas I don't object to changing, or to the change that's been made, I think also, I would not want to burden the manager with, every time somebody wants something, having to run to them, or run to him, or bringing it to the commission to be approved. I think if maybe we had some examples of what this would entail, it might clear that up. I appreciate the thought that less amount means better oversight, but on the other hand, you don't want a nickel and dime department heads from making decisions because they've got to be held accountable for what they do and be responsible.
Mr. Jameson.
I have no difficulty with the revised limits. Jim, I did have a question. Did you have a specific rationale or example that made you rethink and bump it to $100,000 or less that you get to make the decision?
Well, there wasn't any one example. I was taking a look at what we have received from the surplus list and what we have had in conversations. A lot of times we have conversations with each other for vehicles. And
Heavy equipment
the
we
heavy
talked about,
equipment and the
right?
vehicles. And if I bumped it up because sometimes those vehicles could cost $30,000, sometimes they could be $65,000, $70,000. So, so that we're not running back every time we want to grab an evidence van or a front-end loader or something like that. It would be captured under my purview.
Good.
And that's why I did it that way. But
Thank you.
the bigger ticket items may tend to bring more capital expenses on our side. That would definitely need to go before the commissioners.
Commissioner Cloutier.
I'm fine with those limits too, because I understand life cycle costs for a piece of equipment you might end up with that has a useful life of 5 or 10 years. You're gonna have a lot of costs well beyond whatever the value is of the acquisition. When we try to understand the concept of life cycle cost, though, are we also talking about things like maintenance costs and operational costs for like fuel or something like that, if you were using you're talking about a piece of equipment? I mean, that all adds up pretty fast as far as I can see, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I guess, just to be clear about this, is most of this surplus equipment, is this donated, given to us, or do we have to purchase it, or what's the,
Most times, or all that I'm aware of, it is free, but we have to pay for the transportation
so,
to Maine. And this could be anywhere from Syracuse, New York to Virginia. It's spread, especially when you get into the federal level.
and, I might, yeah, I guess I mean, when I first read this, I hadn't factored in the life cycle
Right, yeah.
cost. And also then estimated value. I mean, this isn't acquisition cost, this should be, is estimated value the same as life cycle cost in your understanding of this?
I would say it was two different things.
Okay.
Estimated value
So
is
what are-
what the material, what the
What it's
value
worth
is
now, okay.
now, and then life cycle is looking out over X number of years.
Okay, I'm just, yeah, because I'm just wondering, I think I'm not so much concerned about the $100,000 limit, because I think, you know, a county manager can certainly have a longer-term view of this, and being the person that has to find the money to pay for the thing, and pay for the renovation or whatever happens to it. I'm looking more at the under 20,000. Is that something that just, does that number need a little bit lower before the department head can just say, yeah, this looks good to me? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
throw that out as a question, so, yeah.
Yeah, I looked at this and said, because it doesn't really say what the value has to be, you know, whether
Right.
you're getting a Mercedes to drive back and forth to the jail or something else, who knows? But it does say, it's pretty clear that it says, it's got to be for a required function.
Right.
So, just because it's available doesn't mean if we don't need it, we don't get it, A. And B, it has got to have a total total cost that's less than
Cheaper than
the
if we,
alternative.
yeah,
of
cheaper than
buying
if we
it.
just bought one, yeah,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So, I think it fits together.
think-
We don't,
you think
this
that-
all came up because we had kind of an exotic communications opportunity, but, we were gonna get a baseline vehicle and then have to spend hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars in order to make it work the way it
Yeah,
was
okay.
gonna need to. So, I mean, and that stuff needs an eye on it, no question about it. So, I think it's actually crafted pretty well, and it's a lot better than the original idea.
I move we pass the,
Oh, got another, Steve,
sorry.
Steve Gordon, are you?
Well, the only other comment I'd make is that we're considering all department heads at the same level. And I would suggest that as you look at your department heads, and nothing against Don, but Don might fit into the 20,000, but Bruce certainly wouldn't, because his department and what he does and the kind of assets that he handles is a lot larger. So maybe in the future, if you don't want to do it at this meeting, we could consider giving that kind of definition to some of the department heads that would have a greater latitude than others, for a reason, for real good reason. I mean, I can see $20,000 of Bruce, he's going to be in his office all the time.
isn't he already?
I like the idea of the Mercedes, though, to go.
Yeah, well, that's how I'm gonna
That's a
get, that's how
convertible,
I'm
by
gonna get
the
to
way.
meetings now, is the Mercedes. So. Yeah, that may be future discussion. I mean, I don't, I mean, I think this gets us from nothing to something that looks like it's pretty good, and if a year from now,
It needs
you
to be
know,
tweaked, we can tweak
Bruce
it.
Bruce is camped out in Jim's office for 6 months out of the year, try to get stuff approved, then maybe we revisit it, but I'd be happy to. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion
I'll second.
and a second, 2 seconds, any?
That's for the amended version.
For the amended
For the
version.
amended
Yep.
version, the one that was presented tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think you've got that passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the dialogue, appreciate it.
Next, approval of establishment of a regional aid reserve policy. Jim, is that yours again?
Yes, back on December 9th, when the commissioners met last, you accepted a proposal to look at the commissioner contingency account that exists within the general budget each year. And that proposal was that funds remaining in that contingency account at year's end would be transferred over into a regional aid reserve. That would allow the commissioners to have a reserve with some funding for those times that you may be approached to help out for a cause in Cumberland County. And that we may not have a dollar amount budgeted for that cause, but you would have a source of funds to go to. And so at that meeting, once again, you asked staff to take a look at creating a policy around how this regional aid reserve policy would work. And so I took a stab at it, and it would be amending the admin regs, number 20, creating a regional aid fund. And the regional aid fund reads as follows. The county shall establish a regional aid fund to set aside financial resources that may be used to aid in regional crisis. Regional crisis includes, but is not limited to, the following: homelessness, food insecurity, clothing, transportation, transitional living arrangements, and services associated with breaking down language or cultural barriers. The following guidelines shall be followed in the administration of this fund. Number one, any funds transferred into the reserve account is only by vote of the county commissioners. Number two, expenditure of funds of up to $1,000 can be made by the county manager in consultation with the board chairman up to 3 times a year. Expenditures in excess of $1,000 shall seek authorization from the county commissioners. And number three, subject to the annual review of the county commissioners' contingency account, a determination shall be made on whether the overall budget has suitable funding to make a year-end balance transfer from the commissioner's contingency account to the regional aid reserve account. The reserve account shall be capped at $75,000. So that is the proposal out there. I heard from one commissioner who tweaked a little bit of the language, and we incorporated that in before I sent this policy out to you in the packet last week. Other than that, I've heard nothing more, so it is before you for further comment and review, and hopefully approval this evening. Thank you.
I move passage.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously, thank you. Okay, 20,009, approval of county parking rates for county courthouse facilities. Jim?
Thank you. During the budget process, we always analyze our revenue sources through the budgeting process, as that plays a big weight in how we budget on expenditures. One of the areas that we every now and then look at is what the going rates are for parking on the Portland Peninsula. As you could imagine, with the growth of the Portland Peninsula over the last number of years, parking has become a short supply. Some of the private garages, and public garages for that matter, are getting additional funds on their rates than they were just a year ago. We asked garage manager Ray Saba to query the garages in the area and see what their rates were, and he has written the memo that you have in your packet this evening. Ultimately, we moved, actually, the garage rates we are currently at $140, but there are many garages in the $165, $170, and there's even a garage at $185 a month for parking. With the average at $153 for monthly parking. Hourly, the average is $4.20, and daily maximum is, the average is at $36.60. Ray brings forward his recommendation, and I agree with him, that the county look at increasing our hourly rate $1 over the current rate of $2.50 up to $3.50. Our daily rate increases $7 per day up to $25. And our monthly rate increases $15 per month from $140 up to $155. We feel as though these numbers are appropriate, and they are not the highest, nor are they the lowest. They're kind of right in that sweet spot, and I think that's where we should be for parking here on the Portland Peninsula. So I'd ask for the Commissioner's indulgence and approve the recommended changes to our surface and garage parking for Cumberland County. Thank you.
Move passage.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Steve?
Yeah, do we have any idea how this relates to what it costs us to operate the garage?
We actually, it is a revenue source for us over and above expenditures.
Okay.
And Alex, do you know what the approximately gross increase will be in revenue if we adopt these wages, given last year's
Yeah,
census, if you will?
it probably won't be a direct line from those percentages, and to a certain extent, we've already budgeted the potential for some of this coming in, but yeah, it should give us a good 10-20% bump on it.
Thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We are being very agreeable tonight. All right. Now, here we go. And thanks to Ray for
Yeah.
doing the job he did on this, because.
When does that go into effect? Immediately, or?
That goes into effect, I have to check with Ray. We typically give everyone like a 30-day notice that rates will be going up.
Okay, Commissioner Committee assignments. Here's the list. Looks like everybody is the same, except I am stepping back from the County Commissioner Association, and Commissioner Gordon is undertaking that duty. And I am, Commissioner Gordon is stepping down from the Risk Pool Board, and I'm picking that up, and the county manager will be the proxy or the alternate, if I can't come to the meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to see an addition to that, as many of the other counties are doing at the last meeting.
Yes, get an additional proxy, additional, okay, what do you have in mind?
Well, yeah, to put it with the risk pool.
Risk Pool?
Yeah.
Do you want to go
Yes.
back on that? Okay. Let's add.
I think that would work out that Commissioner Gordon would be the alternate proxy.
Okay.
I would be bumped down to just a point of contact for the county, for the risk pool.
It doesn't have to be that way.
No?
It can be, we both can be.
Alternate,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I know a couple of counties did that. I think basically people just say they want to do it and everybody goes along with it. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's in the bylaws or anything. I think it's just they just need to,
The one thing they won't allow is to have have a treasurer as.
yeah, you have to be a
representative.
you have to be a commissioner. You have to be a commissioner and not a treasurer. And apparently a county manager, so. Now, what this means is I gotta get up an hour earlier on those Wednesdays, and Steve gets to sleep in a little bit, so.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification, I have not heard back from anyone on their roles, so I don't, this is kind of an open slate right
Okay.
now. This is just the 2019 slate of committees that you all sat on. We've touched upon the risk pool, so we've cleaned that up. We still need to, in December, you approved Commissioner Gordon to be the MCCA rep, but we also need an alternate proxy on MCCA. But other than that, I have not had or handled any other committee assignments on this.
Oh, and I see a typo on the County Commissioners Association. It's got Steve as both.
Right.
Right.
I'm the,
Hey, wait a minute here, you can't be both. Which one are you, the top one?
he's the top one, I'm the bottom one.
And
And do we need another one? Do we need another one for,
This one?
Yeah.
I mean, we usually send a delegation to those meetings anyway, so, anybody else want to third seat us on the
It's too
commission?
far to travel.
I'd be glad to do that if nobody else is doing it.
Okay.
So if I could have a point of clarification, under the MCCA board, we have Gordon as the primary, Coward as an alternate, and Cloutier as an alternate?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think wait until you get called unless you feel like going to check it out, because I think,
I'll need a briefing.
because I'll be up there, yeah, because I'll be up there anyway, and so
Where's
if
ENA?
Steve can't be there, I just stay longer, so I kind of block the time out. If we both can't be there, then you're on tap. Is everybody happy with their assignments, or do you want to swap things around? I mean, I'm comfortable with, I don't have a lot on here, and in fact, I think what I need to do is make a commitment to actually go to the emergency planning committee meetings, which I haven't been doing for a while.
No, but I have a question. Liaison for the chief
Yeah, what-
local elected officials, what is that?
It's a very important job. I think that was a
Leo,
question that was asked last year, and we've had a year to figure that out, and we haven't figured it out.
Okay.
Weren't
If
you
we
the
If we can go one
esteemed?
more year, I might volunteer for that.
If I could raise, under Greater Portland Council of Governments, Commissioner Gordon was the representative to the Assembly and the Executive Committee. However, within the last year, I would say probably 8 or 9 months ago, the COG meeting, the executive meeting in particular, and the MCCA risk pool have now landed on the same day of the month.
Oh, and the MCCA,
Right.
Yes.
yeah.
And so, the commissioners need to take a look at appointing someone else to the COG, Board of Assembly and Executive Committee.
Yeah, well,
I would do it. I did
Sue?
attend,
well, I'm
That-
not, I'm tied up on those Wednesdays now.
No,
so-
Sue will do it.
Okay,
but I can be, how voted in by the commissioners tonight, but it's my understanding I can't do anything until June, when the General Assembly meets and they say we yay or nay. But in the meantime, that how Jim will continue is as he does, as the, I guess, proxy or whatever, yeah, as the alternate. So I would
Okay.
accept the position, but I can't, would do anything until June, or May or June, so. okay. And then the other thing, Tom, is that your local emergency, meeting, also meets on a Wednesday, and I think that's probably the same day
is it
with
the
it.
same Wednesday?
It's
Is
the
it in
same
mor- is it
Wednesday,
in the
because I
morning?
just attended, and it was the same. I went there in the
This was
morning.
last week, right?
Yeah, it was last week,
It's
so
in
it's,
the morning, so then I'm
yeah, so, but I can pick that one up too, because I can call in on that one.
oh, okay.
They have a call-in now that you can actually will call in.
cool.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
would be, you know,
Put this up there. Okay. Anything else that needs tinkering with on here?
The Metro Regional Coalition, that has myself on it, but typically that is the chair or mayor of a
Okay.
community and the manager, and so that's kind of a dual.
Oh, sure. When does that meet?
Tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Sorry, I'm not gonna be there then, but I would be happy to do it, I would be happy to do it with a little advance notice. And it meets during the day, and it's in Portland, right? So, I mean.
Yes, it's at
okay.
GP-COG.
Okay, good. So, I mean, the problem with a meeting in Augusta is it's an hour up and an hour back, and so for a 1 hour meeting, it's an awful lot of hours, car time and so forth. I kind of enjoy it because it gets me out of town once in a while, but, okay, that's good, and let me know when is it a regular monthly meeting? What is it? Tuesday?
It's Tuesday noontime, what
Was
would
it
be the second Tuesday of the month?
Second Tuesday? Okay. Second Tuesday, okay.
You say that's generally the commission, the chair?
It's the chair, yeah, or mayor.
Good. Well, I'm actually interested in that as well. I think I've been to meetings of that, meetings and various functions of that in the past, so it's not entirely unknown to me. Okay, good. Anything else? Okay, if everybody's happy, do we need a motion to approve the amended list? Okay, can I?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Gordon. Any discussion or substitutions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's see it passed unanimously. Okay, we got that. Okay, I think I'm looking for I'm looking for a motion to go in executive session on the next item.
And you'll be coming out and
And we will be
hopefully
coming-
taking a vote.
We will be coming out, and depending upon what we learn in the executive session, then we may very well have a vote. I suspect we'll have a vote one way or the other, so.
So I move that we enter executive session in accordance with 1 MRSA, Section 4056D, to review wages and other terms of a new 3-year contract with the Teamsters Local 340 law enforcement.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, so. Okay, for the benefit of the folks watching the recording of this, we're still at the January 13th Cumberland County Commissioners meeting. We've just come out of an executive session. And we have an item 20-011, approval of collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 340 Law Enforcement Unit. Can I have a motion on
Does
that?
I make a motion that we approve that?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would like to publicly comment that I think this has been a remarkably productive negotiation. Not all of them are. This has been, and I'm thankful for all the people, both union and management, that have participated in it for getting us where we need to go with, from what I hear, a constructive and supportive manner. So that's very helpful. I hope that the union employees are happy with the contract. I know they've approved it, but I think this will go a long way to helping us with some of our recruitment issues and so forth, because I think this is a significant bump in compensation, and has some other items that I think are very nice. I just wanted to put that out there for not the people who are here, but for the people who may be watching, the tens of people that are going to watch this over the next 20 years. So thank you very much. And moved, we have a move and a second, have we?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? See no opposition, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right. Old business, no old business. New business. No new business. Comments from the county manager.
Thank you. I got a few this evening. First and foremost, I want to thank Commissioner Cloutier for being chair in 2019. It was a very easy process in working with Jim, and when I had a question or needed to get a hold of him, within an hour, hour and a half, he was back to me. So I appreciate all your help and keeping the wheels churning forward for county government. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Coincidentally enough, last week, we had an incident here on Tuesday with a gentleman that tried to bring 2 handguns through security. And thank God, the marshals down in security were able to apprehend the individual with the help of the city of Portland. But we had, weeks before, scheduled an active shooter training, which happened on Friday. Very fitting timing, and we learned what is happening across the United States, as well as things that we can do to bring greater awareness to the employee if that ever happens, and God forbid, someone with a gun does get past security and gets up into the hallways of the courthouse. And so 2 individuals from the sheriff's office, Detective Magone and Ackerman, did an excellent job sharing their experiences and their knowledge around active shooter and what we, as, in a sense, laymen, government employees, should do if we were ever confronted with that environment. We have another training scheduled for courthouse employees, and I feel as though this is going to be the beginning of a dialogue that we're going to have here in the courthouse, that if this was to ever arise again, or better yet, are we as protected as we should be? I think we put a lot of reliance in the marshals down at the front door, and we may need to do more in the near future. So it's going to start a dialogue. This week, it is my hopes that we will be sending out letters to town and city managers, as well as chairs and mayors of communities, announcing our desire to go from a calendar year general fund budget to a fiscal year budget. That is all slated to begin a year from this month, with us creating a 6-month budget from January to June 2021. And our first fiscal year budget will be July 1st, 2021 to June 2022. And so we have been ongoing for probably the last year, updating the managers during different managers' meetings that this is going to happen. So it shouldn't be any surprise. But I think it's now sharing the more particulars around how things are going to work that we will be doing over the next couple of months. But this week will be the first wave of letters that will be sent out to the municipalities. We are currently accepting nominations from not only county departments, but towns in Cumberland County for the 2020 Leadership Academy. This is something that we have been doing for a number of years, and it is a terrific opportunity for employees to go through this academy and learn things that you don't typically learn, whether you're getting an associate's, a bachelor, or a master's, and it's really tailored to those voids that you get, and giving employees more on-the-job training to be able to feel confident in stepping into leadership roles within county government or the respective communities that they come from. So exciting time, and the names are coming in fast and furious. So it's great to see that the department heads and the communities see value in this academy that we created.
Jim, when's the final date to get that information in?
We typically run it until about the 2nd week of February. Classes start typically the 2nd or 3rd week of March and run 7 weeks concurrently. Currently we have enough for 1 class, and we are now building the 2nd class.
Okay, and who do they get the information to? You?
Let's see, I think that comes to the last item, and that brings me back to Commissioner Cloutier. I just want to congratulate Commissioner Cloutier and his wife Peggy. for being selected as the 2019 Strive Volunteers of the Year. So congratulations. The hard work and commitment we know that you give to Strive, so it's great that you're being recognized for that.
So
and
will
that
you
con-
be going up on the courthouse to raise money?
Yeah, but I'm not doing it in the wintertime.
And that concludes my communications. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment to the manager. In light of all the things that we're doing as commissioners and now I'm thinking about the chairman here, would you please consider creating a policy whereby we can use electronic signatures?
Or what?
Signing.
I
You saw
wanna go
these
back,
5 contracts.
I wanna go back to quill
I
pens
got
myself,
50,
but,
I got 50 letters.
I need something that I can salt the ink with.
For tonight?
Yes.
Jeez.
You know what my signature would look like at 50th one?
yeah, I had to sign, I don't know, how many hundred, bonds for the city of South Portland one time, and when I walked out of there, my arm was literally like, done. It took like
Right.
an hour. It
They
was-
don't do it that way anymore, at least, but, yeah.
Commissioner, you got 56 letters.
I
to
know, I
sign.
was gonna say, I got my brace and my briefcase over there, so, yeah, I would love to have, in fact, I started using that in my practice. The real estate agent's been using it for years, and I started doing it just because, you know, mailing stuff out, getting it back, all this kind of stuff. It just makes it so easy, except that about half of my clients are old and don't know how to use computers, so. So I would love that, that would be great, figure that out. Alex, comments?
Yeah, so it's January, so there's a lot going on right now. First up is the tax anticipation note, which last Wednesday was opened. Morgan Stanley and Company won it with a 1.05% rate, which was lower than we expected and lower than last year by a pretty good chunk, which definitely wasn't what I would have anticipated a year prior or even 6 months ago. So now what we wait to see is what we're going to be able to do for investments to offset some of that cost. But I'm quite confident we're going to, at the very least, make budget and possibly beat budget on this, just due to the fact that that was a very pleasant surprise in terms of the rate we got. And thanks again to Dick Ranigan, who, as always, shepherds us through this.
And what's the cap that we can borrow?
What's that? Go figure. I can see that crystal ball, well, a
If we
whole
can get
different
that
ball
for a
game.
note, I mean, you know, my God,
yeah.
think what we'd do for a bond.
Think
Boy,
about arbitrage.
they'll be paying us to give them the money, yeah.
I don't think we'll have an arbitrage issue, but still. At this point in time, for anyone who was getting a COLA or benefit changes for the start of the new year, that should have gone into effect. It is worth mentioning the jail does their increases on a July to July basis, so they'll be a little different there. The big thing that people got an email from me on about was the payroll tax table changes and the changes to the W-4 form. For anyone who's made a change, when they go to fill up that new form, it's going to look very different than the old form. It really is the IRS attempting to come up with a better mousetrap and a better way of doing things. They're really not looking to play any gotcha here. They're just trying to be a lot more accurate. But just giving everyone that heads up, it's going to be really different. If there's anyone who's had some kind of a change, just wanted to give them fair warning on that. So we've got those things in now, and our focus is now shifting towards, first and foremost, getting everyone out their W-2s, hopefully within the next week and a half, and then the 1099 forms for the contractors. And then the final piece is those pesky 1095Bs and 1095Cs. That's that certificate of health insurance that you folks get, both from the health trust and also from the employer. I want to mention again, because this occurs pretty regularly, those forms are not actually required for somebody to submit them with their taxes. It is something the employee has to get at some point in time, but they don't have to submit it with their taxes. If an accountant tells you that you do, that's just not correct. We still try to get to them as fast as possible, but that's the scoop on that. And that's what we got going on right now.
Travis?
Yeah, so last month, I had talked about how we were beginning to explore the idea of some Wi-Fi hotspots in communities across Cumberland County. We've made a fair amount of progress on that over the past few weeks. We had a meeting with the contractor who performed our broadband study last year, including Freeport, Yarmouth, Bridgeton, Naples, Casco, Gorham, and Scarborough. That was the first round of towns that Jim and I identified, meet a whole bunch of different sort of guideposts that we wanted to reach before we invited them in to talk about public Wi-Fi, one of which is that they were interested in it, and most of them had already done a little bit of exploring on their own, but also that they have spaces where people regularly congregate, and those communities all were able to identify that they do. So we brought them in for sort of a long afternoon meeting with our contractor, and he helped them draw what their Wi-Fi hotspot maps would look like. And what we started with instructing them to do is say, just draw everything that you would want it to be, and we can whittle down from there. But let's start by understanding where your people go, where you want your people to go, where you want to provide access. And so some of them, of course, looked at sort of their main streets where they have shoppers going up and down all day. Others looked at their public parks, at their baseball park fields. Some communities sort of picked one big circle, and others picked a couple of different dots around town. These things can be very inexpensive to build, and they can get very expensive to build. But what we started with was we helped them identify what they would like to do. And our next step is that we're going to get 3 competing bids so we know what engineering all of these sites would look like, what the cost would be. And that's what I'll come back to you with next, is a cost to basically engineer hotspots in all 7 of those towns. And then it may be that we can't afford to do the engineering on all of them at the scale that they wanted to do. It may be that we can afford to, but that's what we can do in 2020 for them. Regardless, it's a gift to give these towns a sort of full engineering markup on what it would take to build the hotspots and then to maintain them. So once we've sort of crossed that threshold, we can decide what we're able to do. Whether we are able to do things in phases with each town, or maybe just a few of them. Maybe some of them will decide that they aren't ready yet. And then we can start to talk about long-term costs of hosting and whether that's something that we can help them with, or whether we would hand the systems over to them when they're built. All of those things have to be determined once we start with just reporting back to them, here's what you can build and here's what it would cost. So I'll be back to you with that information before the next meeting, I think. Other update is the legislature's in session. As you're probably aware, there is a bill that earned unanimous support out of the Criminal Justice Committee in regards to jail funding. Basically, what it does, this is very basic, the sheriff can jump in if I'm wrong, is rather than just award a certain amount to the counties based on need every year, it puts into definition the concept of a state-sponsored inmate, which is broad, but in concept, it says the state is recognizing that they're creating a burden to the counties based on a head count of inmates. And so that's why they're allotting us funds every year. It's not just because the system was broken and now it's not broken, but we need money. It's that the state is recognizing they have a burden, and so there's a formula designed to pay out based on that burden, rather than us just going up there and asking for money to meet our needs. It's in a positive position right now. Unanimous support out of the committee. I think they're still doing some work behind the scenes to define that state-sanctioned inmate. It wouldn't generate any new funds during the current legislative cycle. The good news is that means that it doesn't have to go through the appropriations process. It would affect future years, and based on the calculations in the bill right now, it would mean more funds for county jails in future years. It would be a positive to see that go through. Otherwise, we don't have any heavy agenda items. We're still trying to get funding for Browntail Moss across the finish line, but those bills are in a good posture, and otherwise, 2019 was a very productive year, and so we're heading into 2020 without a lot of pressure in the legislature.
They're bringing back, Travis, the broadband bill, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, there's a $150 million bond that Senator Herbig is proposing.
Travis, do we have, at this point, any legislation that we should be thinking about presenting?
I don't have anything flagged, no. And I would love to hear, there are still ways to get bills in through legislative council if we identify something. If you all have thoughts or ideas of measures that you want to push, but I don't have anything flagged for this year, no. No, everything that we brought up was fully considered in 2019. Didn't raise any new issues for us.
Don, do you want to have any comments from HR?
Just a couple. Staffing, if anybody out there is looking for a job, we certainly have openings for corrections officers at the Cumberland County Jail. We are short-staffed down there. We're sending teams to job fairs to try to recruit. We're spreading a wide net, casting a wide net to try to recruit and bring folks in. I will say, though, that the last couple of weeks, we have had a good number of applicants come in that we are processing, so we're optimistic that we will get some new corrections officers working soon. Also, in January is our annual sexual harassment and other unlawful forms of harassment training that we do every January. And also in keeping with the Commissioner's, one of your strategic initiatives to invest in staff and training, we're launching a year-long training series for department heads, supervisors, and managers on various items to enhance their skill sets for supervisors and supervising employees. Every month will be a different topic. So we're excited about that to kind of continue their on-the-job training after Leadership Academy. So some good things happening, but again, anybody looking for a job, we have openings. Thank you.
Sheriff Joyce, do you want to make a comment, or?
Well, actually, yeah.
Because I think there's been a couple of things up your alley this evening, so.
It is not. I can turn it over.
The secret button.
To go along with staffing, you should have gotten an email the last week or so. Back in December, the command staff, the jail command staff came over and was concerned that the ratio of officers to inmates at the Community Correction Center was extremely low. I think it was 10 employees to 16 inmates over there. There was a talk about maybe shutting it down. I know you folks really like it. I like it too. It has a good purpose. We have the luxury of having one. So we kind of tossed around some scenarios, whether or not we shut the building down and move everyone to the jail, but then you open up a pod, so really you've not saved anything. We made a decision to, employees are looking for employees, and we had at the time, I think we had 10 people out serving 7 employers. So we chose not to do that. What we chose to do is shut down for about 3 months the public works, which is the groups that go out and work in the communities. At that time, we had about 4 inmates, and it just didn't seem cost effective. The other thing was we took a look at, and I lowered as of January 1st, the requirements to go into the Community Corrections Center a little lower. Probably the lowest I'm ever going to go to protect the county. But we lowered it to any non-violent, non-victim type of a crime. You could actually get over to the CCC a lot quicker. Otherwise, you'd do about 20%. So with those 2 tweaks, we think we can move 2 or 3 people through seniority back to the jail to cover some of the vacant posts. You know, one of the things I'm hearing from staff is they're being held over. Christmas was terrible. We were holding people over left and right, but we have to keep the jail going. And, we're trying to do creative things to try to fill the shifts without overburdening the staff. One of the things that, in addition to the 33 vacancies, we have about 24 people on either intermittent or full FMLA. So really that 33 number is about 50 at any given time if, they're all out. So we're trying some creativity. Dawn mentioned the job fairs. The other thing, the chief deputy has reached out to the academy. One of the things we found out that was holding us up was if somebody applies today in an alert test, which is a requirement to get hired, was given yesterday, they have to wait 30 days to take it because they're only coming down to either Southern Maine or Cumberland County once a month. So we felt like we're losing people, so we offered up to give a test, even if I had to pay a little more to proctor the test down here. So the academy's allowed us to do another test, so it's every 2 weeks as opposed to every 4. It's not going to cost us anything right now, so that's good. But the thought was, even if I had to pay a little bit for the academy to do that, we'd save an overtime when we get people through. We're going to have hopefully five people going to the academy on the 23rd of January, with 2 or 3 in the pipeline still trying to get hired. You've heard a lot about sleep deprivation with the Ken Moran case. We've offered out to the union, actually back in July. I went in and met with the union during negotiations and said, look, it's time that we sit down and talk about this. About 10 years ago, we tried to put something in place. They wouldn't hear of it, and it was a fight that, we chose not to fight. It's a fight now that eventually I'd like to resolve with the union. So the hope is in the upcoming negotiation, we can move that ball. There really hasn't been a whole lot of movement. However, we've also, I'm going to have a sleep deprivation expert come in from Washington State in February 13th. And we're going to do 2 classes. They're 4-hour classes. And we're going to bring in all of the union members, or the union staff, and as many people as we can, and maybe even some local law enforcement, because this is a problem for everybody. This is not just a Cumberland County problem. It's just that we seem to have had the issue. There's no right or wrong. We've looked everywhere, OSHA, Department of Labor. Everybody really is not settled on anything. Truck drivers, yes, there's mandates there. But unfortunately, nurses and public safety, there's nothing to go by. So any limit on overtime would be arbitrary. And honestly, if we don't get to that, it may end up being arbitrary, that I just set a limit, and that's what it is. But we hope that this expert will kind of give us an idea of what that might be. Really, it comes down to the science of, we may be turning people loose at bad times of the day when they're tired. And this is a natural phenomenon. So there's really a science behind it, and hopefully after February 13th, we'll have some direction. So really, that's the state of the, law enforcement wise, we've got 3 new positions, 2 contract positions that we're going to fill in March. And really probably it's going to end up being they get filled, and some other general revenue deputies positions are going to be left open, because we've been sitting on those since July, and it's been kind of difficult. Now, we knew that it would take a little bit of time to get people up and running. You just don't flip a switch in July and have people, but we got a lot of people on the pipeline. We got some 3 in the academy, but they're not going to be probably useful to us until July 4th-ish. And we just had 3 graduate, and they're out doing the field training, so they may be useful around March-ish. So we're struggling. This is not a Cumberland County issue. This is not a Maine issue. I can tell you, having gone to an accreditation conference back in November and listening to agencies, it doesn't matter what you're paying people, what you have for benefits, everybody's struggling for people. So I do appreciate the Teamster contract. I think that is a retention type thing. And hopefully we can, we've been here before. This has kind of come around full circle. About 2000 we were like this, so we're struggling, but I think we'll get by, and we just have to be creative. Going back to the public works, when it comes to springtime again, we'll probably most likely be able to open that up again. There are a lot of communities, a lot of non-profits that utilize that, so I do want to get them back up and running. But at the slowest time, it's a good time to utilize the FTEs we have. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question,
Kevin,
too.
can I, Sheriff, let me ask you a question. In recruiting people, have your department had any success in the past couple of months, and how many, and so forth,
Recruiting?
for correction officers?
I would say, like today, there were four interviews going on. I thought that was good. Now, 5 years ago, FOIA wasn't good, 5 years ago, I was meeting with 10 people that were starting the next day, and it takes about roughly 6 or 8 people to get for one person, a good person, once they go through the vetting process. So, we're doing the best we can on that. We've hit just about every possible job fair we can. I mentioned to the command staff, there's a company that is going out of business, or at least laying off 138 people here on Cumberland Ave. It's a billing thing, a company, but I asked the command staff to work with Don to, see if we can get in and start passing out cards. If we get 5 people out of 138, that's a good day. In fact, I would say if we get 1 person out of 138, that's a good day. The thing, and I've challenged my staff is what can we do to attract? I mean, we're seeing it with law enforcement that, it's a tough job, and you're under the scrutiny, and in some cases, very well deserved, and in other cases, it's a small minority of people being vocal. With corrections, and that's the trouble, is they don't get in the news. They don't get a program after, you've got live PD, you've got cops, you got EMS and fire. You don't have corrections. And unfortunately, the only time they get in the news is when something bad happens. So we need to somehow figure out how we turn that around and really celebrate that profession as a profession and not just a stepping stone into law enforcement. Yes, it is for some people, but for others like Captain Butts, it's a career, and we need to celebrate that somehow. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Yeah, because I know you've put effort into it, and I don't know that others know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I have a
Yes, thank you
question for Kevin. Kevin, how do I say this? The county and you, like your department, when they go out there and they recruit, and the HR, has the union ever come up with any ideas, or have we ever sat down with the union and say, okay, these are the ideas that the sheriff's office has done, the HR, what can you do? Or do you have any ideas? Because they're the ones that are out there, we're complaining about the overtime and the manpower and not having enough staff. But have they ever come to the table and say, could we try this, or?
I think I would say yes. Can I remember the last time? No. Our employees are our best recruiters.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of great people from other agencies. I can tell you, when I was on the street, we were losing people to other agencies. So, it's turned around. We had a recruiting video done not too long ago, and we really tried to focus it on the millennials and some of the, let's face it, tactical teams don't really sell the
Right.
kids that we're hiring today. Dive teams, canines,
Yeah.
they want education and some of that stuff. So we've had to gear that. I didn't ask. One of my command staff asked the other day, one union member who was a little upset because they don't think we're doing enough.
Right.
And basically said, hey, do you have any idea how many people go in the academy? And the person just kind of stammered a little bit, and he goes, well, 4 or 5. And don't you think that would be important to know? Because we are doing the best we can.
Right.
So, yeah, every once in a while, somebody would give a good idea, and you try it. We have a program that I think is underutilized. I can't tell you what the exact monetary thing is, but if somebody encourages somebody to apply, then they get a little bit of a stipend at a certain milestone, and then they go a little bit further and they get double that stipend. There's that, we're always trying to sell on, hey, if you're in college, if you're doing criminal justice, we'll pay for your education. It's all these selling points that really need to get that, we need to get it out there. But again, there are 13 police departments in Cumberland County, and all 13 are really struggling for that same officer that we are.
But how about the correction officer? The union, are they doing anything, for that? That's what I was reading.
Well, yeah, they are. We send them to go out and sell their job
Right.
at job fairs. It's far be it for me to go out and try to sell a job at a job fair.
Right.
They need to talk to the people. So, when we send somebody out, we'll either send a supervisor or corrections officer, or a supervisor and a corrections officer. And generally, there's also somebody from law enforcement there as well. I'll talk about something that we're struggling with that seems pretty innocuous. Medical of the jail. The medical company that we're contracted with, they're having a hard time getting RNs and to apply. And again, I was talking to the president of the company today. He was going, hey, what are your thoughts on maybe jacking up the price? I said, well, the pay. And I said, well, I think we did that a year or so ago. And I still believe, because I said this in the media a couple weeks ago, if we paid corrections officers $40 an hour, we might get one or two that say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go there. But everybody is doing this. They're raising the bar to be competitive. So I couldn't sit here and guarantee that if we paid $40 an hour for a corrections officer to start, or RN to start, or a police officer to start, that we could do it. Yeah, I think we'd have a little bit of luck. You can look at police departments that have had sign-on bonuses, $10,000, $14,000. You talk to them, they haven't seen a dramatic increase in people coming in, and that's a substantial amount of money for somebody. So, the answer is we try to include them in the job fairs. We want to send somebody out that's going to sell the agency, and we try to choose wisely. I'll leave it at that.
No, I think everybody is doing a good job. It's just like you said, nobody wants to get into this line of work.
Well, let's face it, the kids of today, and some people our age,
Yeah.
You have to work weekends.
Yeah.
You have to work nights. And I tell people you have to work holidays. And by the way, Christmas is a holiday. Nobody wants to give that up. And I can tell you, having lost a few of them, it's tough.
It is.
It's tough. So, and like I said, it was really difficult to see the holdovers around Christmas time. And we were trying to operate at minimum staffing. Minimum staffing is that level of staffing that we believe won't get our officers injured. Look at earlier or late last week down in Shirley, Mass. At a prison, 3 corrections officers were assaulted. That's a tough job, and you think that, oh my God, it's, you're inside and they've been vetted, but I would say that probably the corrections officers are probably got the most dangerous job day after day after day than any police officer ever thought of, because they're surrounded by people that really don't want to be there. So,
Okay, well, thank you. Yep.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. Barbara, do you have anything from the administrative office
I
point of
really
view?
don't. I just want to welcome you being the chair this
thank
year
you.
and thank Jim for last year.
Thank you very much. Okay. Manager, executive staff. County commissioners, comments. Commissioner Witonis?
No, I'm all set. I answered.
Commissioner Gordon?
I'm fine, thank you.
Commissioner Cloutier?
No, I just have, just a heads up that I think we have a lot of choices and the kind of policy decisions that are embedded in the study of broadband that we did over the last year and a half. And I'm glad to hear it's punching its way forward here. I want to devote some time and effort to sorting out what the policy choices are and maybe have some discussion over the next few months about that. And I still haven't completely given up on the idea of doing something for the 200th anniversary of Maine becoming a state, and we'll see how that goes. That's all I have.
Commissioner James.
I'm fine tonight, Tom.
Okay, for me, just briefly, we had my last Maine County Commissioners Association meeting as president last week. We did have it was interesting meeting. We had accomplished a couple of things. One is we introduced a new budget that for the first time, our finances are being paid a little bit more by the larger counties. Some of the smaller counties feel they're struggling to, raise the money to belong to MCCA. The discrepancy in the size of the counties and the population and so forth. I mean, our smallest county has, less population than several of our cities. In fact, several of our relatively modest cities as well. So we've introduced a little bit of a shift over toward larger counties. As I've said in the meetings up there, which I think some people take it badly, is that what we pay to MCCA is almost a rounding error in our budget. And for some of the counties, they pay per capita, they pay 10 times as much as we do. So it's that's been a bit of a sore spot that we were trying to bring a little equity in that and to create some funding that we're going to need for MCCA to continue its lobbying efforts and to be successful going forward. So I was very happy to be there. We had a speaker who talked about broadband from the statewide point of view. This is an effort that the state government is putting money and effort and funds into. I think this may be a year where everybody, for once, is rowing in the same direction on this issue. And I really appreciate the efforts we're making to bring broadband to some of the communities. I think we also need, and we have not forgotten that we also need to work on bringing broadband to areas that are not served at all. So Wi-Fi in communities that already have a lot of infrastructure is a really good thing because it improves access for everyone. But we also need to move ahead with the whole county. The state is putting some significant resources into that too. So I think we may be able to either team up or take advantage of a wave that is starting to come. I had several discussions with commissioners from really small counties who they sort of agreed with my statement that bringing internet access to the rural areas is on the same importance and scale and potential impact as bringing electricity to those areas in the 1920s. So everybody seems to think that's the case. I was kind of amazed that some of the commissioners, I think from Somerset County, were ruefully saying they have people who are fighting they're against the introduction of broadband into their areas, which I'm not sure, I couldn't get a good sense of what people those would be, because one of the big drivers, I mean, Cumberland County grows a little bit every year. Counties further upstate and inland shrink every year, and a lot of that is because young people don't have the employment opportunities, and I'm just amazed. So I think this is a year where I think we need to be pushing forward with the available partners for this, for the benefit of our citizens, but also across the state. So thank you, and Jim, once again, thank you for chairing this organization for the past year. It's been fun. So thank you very much. That's all from me.
We adjourn.
Second.
We're in executive session.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405 6D that we go into executive discussion to discuss NCEU negotiation and revised bargaining guidance.
Yeah, somebody forgot to turn the page. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
And, Mr. Chairman, I think it would be